What's up, everyone? Kevin Allen here from DFS Army, and I'm back with my second Domination Station new stacking video of the Week 1 2019 NFL season. But this one is all about actually making lineups. The first one is a tutorial, show you how to use the tool, right? But a couple reasons why I'm coming back for a second one. First of all, it's Week 1, and I kind of want to show you how I actually make lineups. I'm going to show you some real lineups that are going into. Eventually, these will be put into a real contest for real money prizes. Let's crush it Week 1. Let's do this, right? So I'm going to show you how to do that. But I also, we're going to talk a little bit about the players, a little bit about the slate here, not get too crazy. I've already set this up a lot, but just to get us back to where we need to be. We are on the Domination Station Optimizer for DFS Army. I've got Draftkings, main slate, NFL, classic mode, main slate, okay? Couple little notes here on the settings. I have tournament mode on, 3 unique players, server-side optimization, a little bit of randomization there, a little 5%. 5%-y. Why? Randomization, what that does is basically when players are super close projected, a lot of times you'll see, like, especially defenses, one will be like the same price, 6.45 points, 6.65 points, 6.5. It's all the same shit. But an optimizer will always default to anything, even if it's the slightest bit ahead of the other one. So we add a little bit of optimization, a randomization in there, just to sort of ease that craziness of the difference between two guys the same price. One is 10.66 and the other one's 10.71. For all intents and purposes, that's the same thing, but the optimizer will take the 10.71 every single time that it can. So we add a little bit of randomization to sort of break that, I guess, rigidity that you get with a machine sort of doing lineups for you in a certain sense, right? Okay, so number one, what am I doing today? I'm running game stacks. Game stacks, game stacks. Now, why am I doing game stacks? This is our new stacking functionality from DFS Army on the Domination Station Optimizer, okay? This is unlike anything anywhere. Why? Because you can control exposures completely and fully from within the stack screen itself. So rather than going to a full player pool, which we can see down here, right? You can go to all the players and an entire player pool and sort of needing to control your exposures from here through adjusting the projections, which you could do, and it's great. And, hey, yeah, okay, do that, right? But rather than just that, and I'm throwing some likes on here on some players I like, but rather than just do that, we can also control from within the stack itself. So I can say, and let's just start at the top here because I've got a Jameis Winston game stack as my first one up. Okay, let's see what we have going on here. Jameis Winston, 15% exposure, game stack, right? Down here, as soon as I click game stack, all of the viable players from both teams pop up here. Now you might be looking at this going, hey, Kevin, where the hell is Peyton Barber? Where's Ron Jones Jr.? Ron. Well, I unchecked those motherfuckers because I don't use them in lineups. So they're not available to me in this pool. On the San Francisco side, Kittle, Pettis, Samuel. Where's the other guys? Also, uncheck them. Their projections were too low. So this is the pool that we're working with for this specific game. Now, I've checked off correlation boost. What does that do? That adds an artificial 25% boost to every player in this grouping here for the purposes of this optimization. Now, the reason I did the 25% boost, rather than just saying, you could still just force 2. You could just say, you must choose 2 of these guys. Must choose 2. But I don't do it because sometimes a player is so badly projected that even when you put a 25% boost on them, they still don't naturally show up in a lineup. And at some point, I don't want a turd that's that turdly in my lineups. And that's what happens when you automatically force 2 in there. So I'd rather do no less than 1, no more than 2, or if I know I definitely want two, let's say, of these players in every single Jameis Winston lineup, which I do, it's basically going to be Evans, Godwin, or Howard, two out of three in every lineup. My feeling being it's going to be very, very difficult for Winston to be the best scoring quarterback on the slate if two of his guys don't have at least pretty good games. Now, it's tricky. I wish there were more players. Like, I wish there was maybe another guy in here that I could have thrown in the mix, but it is what it is. And we're bringing them back around. So, actually, I'm going to leave this 1 and 2. Now, the other thing I have checked off here is secondary stacks, 2 of them. Now, I'm just experimenting 1 or 2, but what is a secondary stack? After we're done with the primary stack, this game, Tampa, San Francisco, we're telling the Domination Station to find 2 more potential stacks to add to our lineup. That could be 3 or 4 more players. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Normally we don't want to do 2 here on a big game stack like this, because what'll end up happening is you'll end up with a lot of 1 player or on these 2 just to kind of force that in there. 1 or 2 is good. So you can go to 2. That's a lot. You could definitely I do 1 on every single one, no, always. If I was doing just team stacks, not full game stacks, I would always have 2 checked off. The more correlation we get in every lineup, the better. So that's my Winston setup. I don't really need to control too much. It's going to naturally control itself for exposures. But if I wanted to, I might say no more than 70%, no more than, I might do 70% here, and I might do like 50% here. So to make sure I get a nice mix of these players. Yeah, I have Kittle set at 75% because if not, they would give him 100%. And I'm going to set Pettis at 60 and Deebo Samuel at, I don't know, I don't really like Deebo Samuel this week. I don't even know if he's going to get more than a 0. So I don't know. Let's leave him at 15%. Again, these are game stacks. Part of the beauty of a game stack is the hardest position to really figure out in DFS is the wide receiver position. You never know. Every single week, it's just very volatile. Not in DFS, I'm sorry, in daily fantasy football. Other DFS sports are even more volatile. But what I love about game stacks and correlated stacks, too, is it's going to focus each lineup around a couple of different ones. It'll force us to have a lot of diversification amongst specifically our wide receiver position based around each quarterback in each game that we're in. So if we're really good at picking running backs that do well, then hopefully we fall on the right few games, get 3 wide receivers from that game, maybe 3 or 4 pass catchers, and if we're right, we win the money. That's how it happens. But you got to be right about your running backs too. You got to hit the right defense. Everything's got to work. Everything's got to work. Okay, secondary stack 1. So here's a Jared Goff stack. I really like this one. Again, it's the opposite side of the, or it's the opposite. It's the road team. I love. I'm just going to raise this one up to 15. I don't think too many people are on Jared Goff this week, but one or 2 of Gurley, Cooks, Woods, Kupp. 1 or 2 of McCaffrey, Moore, Samuel, Greg Olsen. I don't want to go crazy with Greg Olsen. I like Greg Olsen here. I don't want to go crazy with him. But these 2 guys, especially Curtis Samuel, he's going to be pretty chalky this week. But I wouldn't mind absorbing a lot of that ownership in, stacks involving Goff and maybe Cam Newton, as opposed to just having him everywhere. Because, again, a chalky receiver like this is probably actually better faded than going all in on. It's tough to fade him because he's probably going to get peppered with targets. But, I don't know. Curtis Samuel chalk seems a little scary to me. So I want to get a lot of my exposure to him in game stacks based around this game, rather than just having him like poison all of my other lineups in case he does kind of disappoint. It's going to be hard for him to disappoint. It's super cheap. Definitely not that many people for Newton to throw to in this game, and I expect lots of throwing. And one of the beauty of the game stack is what we're playing this for is the assumption that this game will be high scoring. This game will hit that 50-plus number. That means all of the players involved are going to do well. So that's why we game stack in general. It's like, all right, if this game does hit, we're going to have lots of exposure to it. So fine by me. Let's see. All right, I'm going to go through and count how much exposure I have. So it's very important to note that when you're setting up your game stacks or your team stacks, we get one quarterback. We have as many lineups as we're building, but the total percentage of lineups that we're building is 100%. So forcing quarterback exposures, we have to total up no more. We have to total up to 100%. So here's 15, we got 30, we got 40, we got 50, 55, 65, 70, just going through these, 75, 85, 95. We've got room for 5 more. So before I hit the button, I'll show you who I've got. Some other ones. I've got a 10% Pat Mahomes stack going, game stack. Again, one, because it's a game stack, and I'm using a lot of players with Mahomes if I do it. 2 to 3. 1 to 2 from the opposing team. Do a one-man secondary stack. Now, opposing team, who are we using? Man, it's not looking good. So it's going to be all Fournette and D.D. Westbrook. Okay, I really hate these other two. So it is what it is. I wonder if Marquise Lee is playing. I need to look that up. Here we go. Matt Ryan, game stack. This is one of my favorite. You know what? I'll add on the 5% here because I think everybody's on Cousins. I think I already have Cousins at. Let's see if I can find my Cousins stack. Wentz. I did. This is the only one. Actually, Wentz I did a single team stack, so I'm gonna double up my secondaries with him. Same deal here. Did I do a game stack? Yeah, but I still want 2 secondaries with this one. I don't even like this stack as much as I should. I might even remove the Dak Prescott one. But all right, let's give it a run. I've got, I believe, 100%. Oh, all right. Hang on. That was important, actually. I want you guys to see this error message, and I want to explain what just happened. Error: you should choose a quarterback player. Okay. What that tells me is that I added a stack and didn't put a quarterback in it. Yes. So right at the end, added one by mistake. Remove. Okay? No worries. It's all good. So when that error message comes up, that just means you clicked add but actually didn't put a quarterback in there. I'm just going to show you the lineups being generated down here. And then we're going to look at our exposure screen, which is really, really cool. So again, I've just set up all these different stacks based around literally what I said in my notes here. It's like, isn't it a great matchup for Mahomes? You know, weapons, game stacks are in play, you know, all of this. So I've done the research, and these are the, you know, I've identified certain team stacks and game stacks that I want to use. And that's where I'm going to do a Brissett game stack too. I got to do that because I wrote it here. It's not on my list. Maybe do a maybe a Fitzpatrick. Oh, I can't bring myself. I got to do it, but I can't. But I got to do it, but I can't. But I want to, but I won't. I'll probably do it. Probably not. I don't know. But Brissett I want to do. So, all right. Let me add a Brissett one in there. But my point was that I use the notes as my guide. That's what I'm doing all week, and I forget a lot of the stuff. So I just go back to my notes and look at it and use it as a guide. Now, here's a cool thing. We've got a couple of displays here that we could look at. We can look at our display by position group, and I see here that I've got a little bit more Chris Carson than maybe I'm comfortable with. Just a smidge. Just a smidge. Not a 73% Chris Carson guy. I don't want to go that high on him. It's probably a little more Fournette. I love all these guys, by the way, this week, but you know, I'm not trying to go crazy on any of these guys. So, because there's a lot of good running backs in good spots this week. So, you know, those changes will push up my exposure to some of these other situations a little bit. I'm interested. It's interesting that Damian Williams doesn't come up a lot in the Mahomes stacks. I wonder why that is. Again, so I can go position by position group, and that's a little more Thielen than I want. It's probably a little more Julio than I want. So Thielen, let's set him to 30%. He is my favorite, one of my favorites on the slate. But that, again, I don't like to go too high on any wide receiver. I'm very comfortable going overexposed on tight ends. But at wide receiver, not so much. You know, they bust all the time. So I just want a good spread of exposures to the wide receiver group overall, rather than trying to like load up on any one guy. Like there are guys, I love Lockett this week. Let's give him a little projection raise here. Don't be afraid to raise and lower projections. That is a big mistake that a lot of people have. They're afraid to mess with the projections. You shouldn't be. You gotta be comfortable making changes to them. And yeah, how do I only have 3% Mike Evans? We gotta take a look at that. All right. So the other thing that I can control here is my stack combination. So I could start to look. Okay, Wentz, Jameis Winston. For some reason, it's all Winston Godwin. Not enough. Winston Godwin, Pettis, Godwin, Kittle. Maybe that's because I did the double stack. Yeah, let's go back to that one. Yeah, see, the experiment failed. No, actually, it was a single stack, so even that. Let's see how I can fix this. Godwin. I'm going to force 2. That's how we're going to fix it. When you see a guy is not just popping as much as you want, you can do some things to force what you want to happen to actually happen. Julio Jones, I don't want 100% Julio. I love Julio. I want a lot of him with Matt Ryan, but we've seen Matt Ryan break a contest with Ridley and Austin Hooper. So it's not impossible. I love Dalvin Cook. Very tough to not use him. All right. Running through. So I've adjusted some exposures just now. I'm going to run it again. Each time I make a couple of changes, I run it again. That's how it's done. I'll tweak. I'll change. Control exposures a little bit. I don't want to be too overexposed, like I said, to any one wide receiver. One of the cool things about the way that we display lineups on the Domination station is you see the ownership projections and the projection itself and the min-max all right in the exposures box. So you're able to control everything right from this exposure screen. I don't think that is a common feature across a lot of these tools. You can control everything right from one spot. So that's something I really like about the way we have the system set up. Let me go back as I'm waiting. You know what? It runs through so quickly. You almost just, so I can talk for a minute and we're done. We've got our 150 lineups in. So let's take a look at what these lineups actually look like. Again, I can look at my stack combinations. I wanted to get a little more Evans in there. There we go. Got a little more Evans going. Don't want too much Bashard Perriman, but didn't get too much of him. So what I'm seeing here is, it's interesting. We're not getting a ton of two-person San Francisco stacks, but that's okay. That means those, the numbers just aren't squeezing together in a way that we like. Cooper Kupp, yeah, and Christian McCaffrey. We're getting a nice little array of various types of stacks. Not as intense as, I'm seeing a lot of one-man stacks. Even in some of these games where we have the correlation boost activated, so that's interesting. Easy enough to force two-person stacks if we want to, which I might do. So going through everything, you see all these various percentages. Now, I'm going to take a look. It's interesting, 7%. Like, I don't understand where that number's come from. So I'll take a look here at our total player exposures and see where we're at with it. Still getting 23% Carson Wentz. 5%. That Ryan should be 10. Make some adjustments. But Do that. Again, go through the position groups, position by position. Oh, that's way too much marking room. Again, this is what will happen as you adjust one exposure down, another one will shoot up. So, you know, I like Mark Ingram this week, but not that much. So I'm trying to get a nice mix of all of these. And again, and so on and so forth. So basically that's my process. I'm just going to keep running the lineups again and again, each time making a small adjustment. Again, initially starting with all of my quarterback settings. What I'm doing here is I'm trying to run game stacks, but understand you don't have to run massive stacks every single time either. You know, 2 to 1, 3 to 1, 3 to 2, that kind of thing. So it could be quarterback, wide receiver, running back, opposing wide receiver. You don't have to go too crazy with it. I think that's a danger a lot of people are maybe going a little bit overboard with. Don't go crazy, but you know, for the games that look good, let's build stacks around those games. Yeah, and bring this all together. So I'm going to look at this last run here. I'm just curious how that's going to come. Yeah, there we go. That's that mix I'm looking for. Actually, I want to add in Brissett as well. So I'm going to do that next. You know, I'm going to keep messing with my stuff here, but I just wanted to give you guys an idea of how you set up the domination station to create. All right, let's look at a stacked lineup. Let's look at what a stacked lineup looks like. Of course, it's the Carson Wentz ones, which are the least stacked. All right, let's look at the Cousin, a game stack here, all right? Cousins, Cook, Jones. I've got a secondary stack here. Carson, Seahawks. Trying to see if I have another secondary stack. Chargers. Yeah, it's always tricky to find them. Cousins, Cook, Thielen. Goff. Cooks. Samuel. Yeah, it's hard to see these stacks. Actually, one of the next thing we're putting in to the DOM of one of the next updates is going to highlight every single stack and every single lineup in color, so you can actually see them and point them out real quick, because I have a hard time every time looking like, who's on this team? What? Yeah, Cousins, Cook. So I'm seeing a lot of Cousins, Cook combinations. Let's see. Let me look over there and see what we got for Cousins. Yeah, a lot of Dalvin Cook, a lot of Cousins, Cook. So again, I prefer Cousins with 2 pass catchers, so I'm going to mess with that a little bit. But you get the idea how to set this up. Once you've got a run that you're happy with, download the file, upload it to Draftkings, and good to go. All right. That's it for this one, guys. I'm just going to keep looking through my stacks, checking them out, tinkering, and we'll be back tomorrow with more breakdowns.